Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Let's Play that I'm doing of Doom. This will be probably chapters 3 and 4. My name is Patrick McFarlane, and as I was saying before, I'm doing these Let's Plays kind of to help promote my podcast, which is called the Liberty Weekly Podcast. It is a podcast that's focused around talking about voluntarism and Rothbardian anarcho-capitalism. It's a little bit nuanced, but if you want to check that out, you can find me at libertyweekly.net, and I would urge you to do that. But for now, I'm going to talk a little bit, or I guess I'm just going to do a Let's Play, but there's some crossover between my show and doing these Let's Plays. So, without further ado, I'm going to dive in here. So yeah, guys, today I am recording this on Thursday afternoon. I got done with some class this morning. I'm in law school, and I'm gonna have a little reprieve here today. Just a couple hours to do this Let's Play. And this is where we left off. Even though I was in that room, I got like the Eye of Sauron kind of thing. And I was hoping for a second that maybe I would be evil. But I don't think that I am, ? I guess we'll see. And so yeah, I did my first Let's Play yesterday. I'm just gonna check and see what the hell's back here. I can vaguely remember this. My last Let's Play I did like super late at night, so it's kind of hard to remember. At least I have a battle rifle now. It was super satisfying to shoot. But if everyone has seen my last Let's Play, thanks so much for sticking in with there and checking me out on my next Let's Play. I got a few thumbs up. I got one thumbs down, which is fine. I can take it. Oh, I guess this is the end of the last mission. Okay, but yeah. So I got some feedback that I should make my voice louder. I've done that. I hope that this is loud enough. I guess we'll see when I watch the footage again. But one of the reasons why I'm doing this Let's Play is because there's a lot less effort that needs to be put into this to make it, like, to produce it than doing a podcast, where I have to do like all of the research and editing, and it just takes up a lot of time. And I'm a pretty busy person, so this way I can do the recording, and then if I do it right, the file is right there, and I can just upload it quick.
After running more diagnostics on the active Praetor suit, it appears that I can accelerate the upgrading of your arsenal by measuring your combat effectiveness.
That's
nice. I have
nice.
added a tracker to your helmet's display.
Oh boy, thanks.
The facility will not allow you access to the turbine room unless the demonic threat level is brought down inside the foundry. Our security systems cannot be overridden.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit of laggy gameplay, so I'm just going to check my, I'm doing some overclocking here. I'm just going to check. Okay, well, I wonder what that's for. But while I'm doing this, I'm just going to go into settings and turn the music back up a little bit so we can get some ambient, some kind of, a little bit of, oh, I just wasted my frag. Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, the old Doom didn't have much, like, Doom 3, I should say, didn't have too much like this situation. Big open spaces like this. Oh, this is great, this battle rifle. Like I was saying in my first video, I prefer medium range combat. Let's get ooh, micro missiles. Ooh, tactical scope. I'll do tactical scope. So I've been the, what's that? Let's see what my objectives are here. Okay, this is my codex mission. Stop the meltdown. Okay. Stop the madness. I wanted to talk a little bit about the podcast and kind of the current state of it. I've been meaning to... So I had a co-host, or I have a co-host, Jerry, and we've both been really busy, and it's been hard to like figure stuff out and connect, because what we usually do is we record in person. Oh, I'm on a battle rifle. We usually like to record in person, and we've just been too busy to get together. But what I really wanted to do was do a kind of like update of the podcast kind of thing episode. So I think we're going to record that. How can it read my handprint if it's in a glove? Oh, that's probably why it's denied. So we were going to do a state of the podcast episode, just to kind of reconnect and everything. That... Oh? Oh. Alright. I forgot what those guys are called. Huh. It's kind of brutal though. Wait, does that mean I can use his hand? Or, oh, that's the hand that I need, okay. We were going to do a State of the Podcast episode. That should be recorded Friday night. But in the meantime, if my listeners have found what I'm doing here, so I got to get over there. If they've found what I'm doing here, hopefully it'll satiate them for a little while. Hold on. I gotta... Oh, I'm on fire now. I gotta figure out what I'm doing before I keep yakking. Okay, there we go. But I wanted to give a shout out to the... So, for all you libertarians out there, I assume you're a libertarian if you've put up with me this far. There is a there's a nascent libertarian podcasting community. Okay, maybe I just need to pay attention here. Can I run across this and jump up? Like I said, I was... when I was playing this game for the first time, I kept getting, like, stuck and lost, but I was drunk then. Now I have no excuse except for the fact that I'm multitasking. We have a nascent podcasting community that is made up of a few smaller shows, but we've kind of banded together in mutual self-interest, and we're promoting each other, and we're having a good time connecting and strategizing and stuff. And mostly this community is centered around the Actual Anarchy podcast. Fuck, how do I get through this? Maybe I should follow my objectives. Let's look at the fucking map. See, this is the shit that I was talking about when... Maybe I'm just stupid. Okay. So I need to get across that. Fuck. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to focus here so I'm not stuck in one place and just running my mouth. There we go, okay. Brutal. Okay, now I have the fucking hand. So, like I was saying... Okay, there's some action now. Podcasting community, it's centered... I'm gonna give shoutouts here to all my buddies. And I'm going to include links in the show notes page here now. So there's a few shows we've been connecting with called, one is the Battle for Liberty podcast. That's kind of centered around brutal.
Access granted.
Winning over, converting people, I guess, newcomers to libertarianism and explaining the philosophy. And the host, Mike Tilden, is very, very good at what he does. And he's been doing this for a little bit, about a year now. That was a pretty easy gore nest to deal with. And he's great. We've been meaning to connect together our shows, but things have been so busy. And he also has a family, and he's super busy too. So he does one show a week. And I'll include the link in the show notes page for those who are interested. Also, like I said, the Actual Anarchy podcast done by two guys named Dan and Rob. They're super cool. They're super nice. We've done crossover shows together. But what they do is they dissect movies from a Rothbardian anarcho-capitalist perspective. And tending to show, hence the name, what actual anarchy is, by demonstrating it in popular movies, because that's something that that's pretty easy for quote-unquote normies. I know that's an alt-right term, but I use it sarcastically. Explaining to quote-unquote normies what the philosophy is, and we have a lot of fun on their show. They just recently did Equilibrium, which I'll include a link to in the show notes page as well. And I was listening to it last night, and it's a pretty damn good episode. A pretty good movie to go at, to use. Okay. And I get the feeling... Okay. I hope this... Yeah, okay. So they're a really cool show. Another show that I've been interacting with is a super new show called the Peaceful Treason Podcast. And there are two guys from Missouri, I think. And they do a really good job. We've connected. I think we're going to do a crossover show together soon as well. And they have a lot of cool things to say. Their most recent episode, they were talking about climate change. And they were talking about... I gotta get that key. And they were talking about, Islam and our foreign policy's effect on radicalizing Islam, and that it's been detrimental and has contributed a lot to, public sentiment towards Islam and the radicalization of Islam itself. Through our meddling in the Middle East. And I thought they had some really intelligent things to say about that. So I'm going to plug their show. Next up is the Don't Waste Your Hate podcast, which is a clever name. And I think the theme behind it is redirecting, because a lot of people are very frustrated with government, or with, politics. And the whole point is, don't waste your hate on the wrong people. What should I do, folks? I think ammo. Gotta have the bullets. So they do a good job. I haven't listened to a whole bunch of their shows, but what I've listened to so far has been pretty damn good. There's a lot of... All these people are very smart people. And it's been a joy to connect with them. I think what I was talking about before, doing this podcast and having that be my activism, has been so rewarding. I've been able to have so many great conversations with people. And I think, I don't want to say, I don't know. Sometimes it can be lonely, though, because you don't get a whole lot of interaction from the audience all the time. Because, people are busy and they have their own shit going on. And, you always want feedback, but I've been able to make a few friends. Shout out to everyone in my Facebook group and my Patreon supporters. But the world shrinks when you do something like this, and you make good friends, and it gives you a little hope, to be honest, for the future. And another main point of doing the show is that I'm kind of a motor mouth, as you could maybe tell, and I would otherwise be driving my poor wife insane with talking about this shit all the time, and it's kind of my outlet as well for that. But I'm hoping, so I was gonna do this chapter of the Let's Play with, oh fuck, it's a big boy. Oh, I just wasted that frag. Shit! Oh, you can hear that music now. Once again, I wish I could play Meshuggah, so, oh, that's cool. If anyone knows the legal implications behind playing that kind of music, let me know. I should just look it up, but I'm too lazy, like I said. But I was going to have my wife do this chapter of the Let's Play with me, but I worked 6 to midnight last night at the library, and when I got home, she was in bed. But we'll probably do one tonight. We'll do chapters, I don't know, 5 and 6 together. Okay. Yeah, so this part's pretty cool. Foundry kind of thing. That must be my primary objective over there. It looks like it's out of range. So I don't know if I have like ADD or something, but a recent thing that I've been noticing playing video games and shit is that I don't follow the story. I don't know if if I find the stories kind of boring recently, but I don't read the codexes, and I should, to get the whole kind of picture of the game. Oh, okay. Oh no. Okay, that was the same animation for killing those big guys twice in a row. I think those are called Hell Knights, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, do we get some surveillance state? With the UAC surveillance state? The leftist inversion of corporate. Well, I wanted to say too, I was talking about corporations and government in the last period. And corporations wouldn't exist but for government, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe that the corporation designation is a special legal status given to business entities by the government itself. So the Union Aerospace Corporation would not be what it is. And I think it has to do with taxes, but also dividends and shareholders and stuff like that. I haven't had biz orgs in law school yet. I might take it next semester. But I'm graduating in May, so I'm almost done anyways. I might just learn biz orgs doing my bar prep stuff. But I should probably touch on free speech too, because I was saying I don't believe in free speech. Or, no, I wasn't saying that. I was saying that free speech doesn't... It's like, I have a specific passion for certain things, and free speech just isn't something that gets me worked up like it does other people. And I think it's because I went to school at the U of M, and I was in YAL, Young Americans for Liberty, and we did tabling events, and I was doing all that free speech campus activism shit for 4 years. And I'm just kind of sick of it, to be honest. And other people annoy me with what they say, and I still support free speech for them, you know, just because they annoy me, you know, I assure you. But moreover, I do not think that free speech is a natural right. And that is because I think that free speech is it's a part of property rights. What we would see is free speech. That's like privacy rights. I don't think privacy rights exist. Because in some situations, in order to assert your right to privacy, you're going to have to infringe on other people's natural rights. And so I don't think there's any natural rights that aren't part of property rights. And so therefore, you don't have free speech unless you're on your own property, or if the owner of the private property of which you are on has a policy of allowing free speech. And that would be in a pure ANCAP, you know, that would be in Ancapistan. And obviously we're not living in Ancapistan. And so I don't support government censorship as a rule because the government itself is invalid. It's the same with privacy rights. I support the Fourth Amendment and, you know, protecting against unnecessary search and seizure without probable cause. But that's because the government itself is invalid, because it's funded coercively. That was cool. Flesh storm. So in the same way, you know, you only have free speech on your own private property. I mean, you can say you have freedom of thought no matter what property you're on, because that's your thought happens within your own head. But as soon as you get on someone else's property, they get to dictate what is allowed and what isn't. And I still don't, you know, support government censorship because government itself is invalid. And so I wanted to kind of clear that up a bit, because I think I put my foot in my mouth a little bit in the first video. But so I'm going through this and I'm really hoping that my voice is loud enough. I wanted to correct that, so I turned the volume up a little bit. I'll turn it up a little bit more. I was kind of worried about that. Like I said, I can't really oh, let's listen to what this guy has to say. I can't really do a lot of editing because that takes more time, and I wouldn't be able to do it if it took 3 hours to put out each video. If I did... What is he saying?
Is the foundation to our success. With you, we will establish a new paradigm and move humanity into the future.
This just sounds like government propaganda to me. Religious government propaganda. So I was gonna keep interspersing my shoutouts to my fellow podcasters. A show I've really been getting into in the last couple days is the Free Man Beyond the Wall podcast with Mance Raider. And I don't watch Game of Thrones. I think it's a soap opera with porn. And I'm not trying to detract from Mance and his show, because his show is freaking excellent, and I think his decision to choose the name Mance Raider was super duper smart from a marketing perspective, because it has instant recognition with a lot of people, and plus you're going to get people who are Googling Mance Raider and come across your show organically. So that's a shitload of traffic right there. And I wish if I could do this over again, I wish I would have chosen a pseudonym that had that recognition. And plus, Mance Raider, like I said, I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I think that his character in the game is like a leader of free people or something, right? I just want to make sure I'm going through the right areas. I missed something up there. Shit. Maybe I have to go back. Oh, but anyways, Mance and I have been chatting on Twitter, and we're setting up an interview, hopefully in the next few days. I really want to get on with him. I think he has a lot of cool things to say that I agree with. Oh, that is the blue card that I'm looking for. Okay. He has a lot of cool things to say, and I agree with a lot of what he says. So we're going to probably get on, and I wanted to talk about the effect of culture, how political change is always downstream from culture. And I wanted to talk about which way the culture is trending, and and the Federal Reserve's effect on culture with cheap credit and essentially free money and distorting the economy in that way. I think it'll be an interesting conversation. But Mance he started his podcast in like July, and he's already had a few big names on, and I don't know how large his audience is. Mine is about, I think, 180 to 200 listens in the first week of an episode posting. which is decent, and I'm very grateful for my audience. I love you guys. And I find it astounding that you would want to take time to listen to me talk about things.
The blind council is always watching.
Oh, surveillance state, panopticon. But I should give myself some credit because I put a lot of time and energy into doing the podcast. What is this? Ooh, plasma rifle. Motherfuckers. This looks similar to the plasma rifle in Doom 3. But I think Mance has his Twitter handle is @MNRothbard. And I know he has had this Twitter account for a long time, and he has 13,000 followers, and he is like the meme king. I think even more so than Anarchy Ball is. Okay, this seems ineffective. Okay, that's the same kill animation like 3 different times for those Hell Knights. But yeah, Mance is like the meme king when it comes to Twitter. I've been trying to replicate. What do they say? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So I've used memes in my marketing for the podcast, and goddamn, it is like marketing with the cheat codes. Because I've had way more interaction on a single meme that I ripped off from someone else than I do... Oops, I'm sorry. Than I do even with my, like, most witty Twitter posts. But shit. God damn it. Sometimes I get retweeted by big names like James Corbett, which always helps. And I think James is always trying to help independent content producers because he was there himself. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to re-find where the fuck I was. Oh, it's over here, I think. Yeah, but James has been a huge influence on my thinking. I think what I talk about in the podcast is my 3 levels in my coming awake story, I suppose you could say. People in the, I think, alt media community have awakening stories where they realize, you know, how deep the rabbit hole goes when it comes to the evil of governments and the evil that they pervade. One thing that comes to mind is, you know, Madeleine Albright saying that the death of 500,000 Iraqi children was worth it for non-existent WMDs, stuff like that. John McCain just being a shithead in general. Okay, I'm sorry guys. I get lost so often. It's kind of hard to multitask. Where's the last gore nest? I feel I was in the right... going the right direction. I've already kind of fucked around in here. I assume... So there's 3 different levels, basically. One is where you realize the government is bad, which is like mainstream libertarian. Then you realize you take the step from anarchy. That's where I need to go. Fuck. Then you take the step from minarchy to anarchy, which the difference between minarchy and anarchy is 6 months of reading. Goes the old adage. I think it's super true. You know, you read Rothbard for a few months and then you realize that he's right about almost everything. And that there's like a libertarian realizes that it's wrong to use violence against peaceful people, and an ANCAP or voluntarist realizes that there's no exceptions to that, basically. But I still consider, you know, minarchists to be friends and stuff. It's kind of a pejorative term in a certain sense, but others have embraced it, and that's totally fine. You know, we're all kind of on the same team here generally, so there's no reason to be adverse to each other. Alright, floor nest. Sorry I had that little segue. Like I said, I would have edited that out, but it takes too much time and this wouldn't happen if that were the case, so. I'm still getting kind of laggy gameplay. It's a little irritating. It might just be because of the level. I don't know if you guys have noticed it. I have the FPS counter at the top left-hand screen. I personally don't mind a little bit of lag because I like my pretty graphics. But, yeah. I forget which card I have. I think it's the 980 Ti that I have. It's a beast of a card, but it's a few years old now.
Turbine room doors now open.
Okay. I feel like I should be mentioning other podcasts, giving them some I'm gonna die. Oh. Thank you. Oh. Alright, now I have to go through the yellow door. Right? Or this door. Uh-oh, my wife is texting me. Oh, never mind. So another show. Oh, I got to give a shout out to my buddy Dean at Dino Files. We did a crossover show a few weeks ago, and been meaning to do another one. But you can find him at air.io. Nope, I keep getting it down. It's AI Radio, spelled out, except there's a dot before the IO, I think. And he's been doing podcasts and stuff for a while. But he didn't have the benefit of the Tom Woods show bump, which is what us in our community call it, because Tom Woods does probably the most well-known and prolific libertarian ANCAP podcast. And you can find him at tomwoods.com, I believe. And what he'll do is that if you sign up for your web hosting or whatever, if you're going to do a show, you sign up for your web hosting through his link. He gets a commission, but in return, he will give you a shout out on his show and literally direct like a deluge of traffic your way. And it's really helpful to get started out. So a lot of us owe our current situation to him because he sent a lot of people our way. Because otherwise, if you get started with your own media and you don't attract a lot of attention at first and you get discouraged. Are they not fighting each other? Oh, that's satisfying. This gun is very satisfying. Because, you know, I remember when I was a teenager, I tried stuff like this. I was a sensitive, creative type. And I was a writer. Fiction. I still do some writing and I like doing that stuff. But I tried setting up a Facebook page for my writing and I got like no attention. Because, you know, who wants to read that shit? And it takes a lot of hard work to get traffic and to get people to watch your shit. Same animation, god damn it. I should be using my chainsaw. And, you know, so it takes a lot of attention and time and effort to develop a following and Sometimes you get lucky, but a lot of it is a lot of hard work. And I can tell you I've put hundreds of hours already into the podcast. And it's been very, very rewarding. But it is a lot of work. At times it gets discouraging, but you got to do it because you love it, not because you want something in return from it, or you expect things, or you want to be famous or some crap like that. I just want to be respected. And I want to, you know, if I can... First off, I enjoy doing this. I want to be respected, but also it'd be a waste of my legal education in the movement to not apply those things. And that's what the podcast is for. So I won't necessarily be going into all that doing the Let's Plays, but come on. Oh, hello. No! I finally get the mine to use it, and I'm out. Oh, there's two. Frick. I wasted that frag. That's becoming a theme. So guys, I do want to return to pumping my buddies and their podcasts. But one thing I've been working on that's been very exciting has been finally in-depth studying the works of Lysander Spooner, who's super prolific. And I've done an episode on him. I've done a few. I think the number is 28. So if you go to libertyweekly.net,
has been activated somewhere nearby. It could be Olivia.
that bitch Olivia. If you go to libertyweekly.net/28, I believe it is, you'll find a biography episode on Lysander Spooner if you want to know who he is. Basically, he's a radical abolitionist from the 1800s. He was an attorney and a legal philosopher and scholar. And he did a lot of great work, and I'm reading now his work on jury nullification and the kind of an extensive history of trial by jury. And I had a revelation reading it the other night, actually, because they don't teach you this shit in law school. And granted, you know, they teach you practical things. But this is practical, because if you know the history behind, you know, what a jury is and why we have a jury, but they don't tell you that jury nullification is literally a prime solution for bringing down the state. Because hold on, I need to figure out what the fuck I'm doing before so I don't bore everyone with me running around. Like I said, I could edit this if I had 1,000,000 hours to spend. It says investigate the signal. What is this? That symbol's an upgrade, correct? What the fuck? Look, I'm just in this dead-end corner. You know, I'm surprised that my cats haven't been all over me during this episode. We got a kitten a few months ago. We named her Reagan. Not after President Reagan, but after Reagan from The Exorcist, the girl that gets possessed. And she's really cute. She's black. And I think her mother was a Maine Coon type. But she's black, and she's very gorgeous. She's beautiful. But she's a kitten, and she's very annoying right now. I really hope that I wasn't just here. Okay, this is what I need. So this game really reminds me of that, like, you know, back in the day, back in the 90s or the mid-2000s, there was always... Is this the end of the mission? There was always... Oh, cutscene.
Authorization. Olivia Pierce. Alpha 402.
She has locked me out, Dr. Hayden.
All power rerouted to Argent Energy Tower.
She is trying to tear open the portal between our world and theirs.
Hell? She's gonna do it, isn't she? She's kind of ugly.
You could not have saved them anyway.
Is there something about a British accent that makes evil people more evil appearing? Now does the shit now hit the fan? Yawn. Stop the meltdown.
The system won't allow anyone but Olivia to override it now. We will have to shut down the Argent Tower manually from the surface.
It's just such a theme in video games like this, that there's a commanding voice that just sits on their ass and tells you, oh, do this, do that, go here, go that. It's like a trope that I've noticed amongst... Okay, here's the end of the mission. It's a trope that I've freaking noticed. Like in Dead Space, it's the same thing. But as I was saying too, kind of, the reason why Doom 3 was so good is because you get in there, you're a new Marine or whatever, you get in there, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're doing your mundane stuff, and you get your first assignment to go check on this scientist at this comms array, and then all of a sudden the shit hits the fan, and you're like, oh my god, what the hell's going on?
Olivia is using the tower to drill a doorway into their world. You can prevent her from opening the gate by disabling the tower induction filters.
Isn't there already a doorway between our worlds? Isn't that why there's fucking demons here already? I'm just shitting on this game. I shouldn't, because it's been good so far, but... so as I was saying, in Doom 3, you get there and the shit hits the fan.
Is a frequent occurrence outside of the base, so it is recommended that workers buddy up when journeying onto the Martian surface.
Yeah, that's annoying. The shit hits the fan, and then you're like, oh my god, what's going on? XYZ. And then you get this feeling of like, holy crap, I am alone. And it feels fevered, like you're in real danger, like there's a situation and all you have to survive somehow. And you're trying to reconnect with the sergeant and the other Marines, essentially, but you never do, spoiler alert, and they kind of die, and you find them throughout your journey. But it really just felt fevered. You felt pressured, in a sense. Tension. Kind of a sense of dread. And that feeling is completely absent here. That's my biggest complaint. If I'm getting lag, it's because you probably can't even tell. I hope you can't, but it's because I think I'm playing on max settings. Maybe I should change that. I'm assuming I have to jump. My apologies if you can hear traffic noise. I always warn about traffic because our apartment is really close to the road. And I always mention traffic noises in my podcast, the ones, because we always used to record in Jerry's basement, which was super duper duper quiet and super nice for doing these kind of things and doing interviews and stuff. But now I'm kind of resigned to my apartment and it sucks. But I always warn against traffic noise, and then I go back and listen to the episode and there is none that you can pick up. Because my mic is... I really love my microphone. I should look at it. It's an Audio-Technica ATR 2100 USB. And apparently it's the one that Tom Woods uses in his own show, and it's super professional sounding. Alright, I really want to chainsaw this guy. Thank you. That was cool. Okay, I just wasted another frag. So yeah, it's a super nice microphone. I got mine for like $50. And maybe I should get another one now, because if I'm going to start doing Let's Plays with my wife, or if she's going to join us, maybe important. You know what I should have done though, is I'm sure I can get a good running time of how long these chapters are. And I haven't been keeping track of how long this Let's Play is so far. But maybe I should have looked at that. I want to try and keep them under an hour each. I think if they're shorter, I'll probably get more people listening. So. Let's get some health there. I think it's pretty good that I put this on a low difficulty, because otherwise I'd probably be dying all the time trying to multitask. So I'm gonna mention another podcast here. Another podcast is Foreign Policy Focus by a guy named Kyle, whom I haven't connected with yet, but I've been meaning to. We've been meaning to do something together. Do you see a recurring theme here of people I've been trying to connect with, but we just are both too busy? It's kind of lame on my part. But I promise it will happen. Am I supposed to shoot that or not? Is it tempting me? Teasing me? Fucker. Oh. Yeah, so like I was saying, the guys in my D&D group were saying that the game really picks up and gets fevered, so might have to adjust my graphics settings. I think it takes FPS away from you, I believe, to do the recording in the first place, because it's taxing your CPU and probably your video card too. Fuck. Kill it with fire. Might be approaching an hour here. After this is done, I gotta go back to school and study for secure transactions tonight, which is lame. Secure transaction is fucking hard. It's all about getting paid, which is cool. Get my motherfucking paper. Making sure creditors get paid. I'm gonna fuck around over here. But as I was saying about Lysander Spooner before I got sidetracked, he makes the argument that the Magna Carta has been misinterpreted throughout history. There was a very famous English jurist named Sir Edward Cook. I believe it's Edward Cook. But he's famous because I don't know, he's just, I should know more about him. And I will in the future, but probably for the research for the show. But he interpreted the Magna Carta falsely, apparently, according to Lysander Spooner, because it was written in Latin, as a lot of the legal documents were at the time. And essentially, the misinterpretation is that he should have... is that the importance of the Magna Carta is that it established the rights of juries and the fact that juries should be able to they should be able to determine both the facts of a case, because part of what a jury is supposed to do is make determinations of like what actually happened, and that's their job. They're called a fact finder, and judges have played that role too, but primarily the purpose of having juries do that is because it's by the people, being judged by a jury of your peers, but also it's hard to determine, you know, what really happened. They rely on certain I don't know what to call it, methods for determining fact. A lot of it is reading people and being able to look at them as they present evidence. Oh, I don't want to do a room trial. And how you can tell if someone's lying, using common sense. There's other methods for prohibiting unreliable evidence. That's called the rules of evidence. But essentially saying that... I need this. Okay. Saying that juries should be able to determine what is true and what isn't in the dispute, but also be able to take a look at the law itself. Now we're getting somewhere. But also look at the law itself and say whether or not the law is fair. And so essentially then... And this is a big deal, because if juries can determine what is law and what isn't, then essentially the people have reclaimed... They've reclaimed the institution of justice and the carrying out of justice, and then they can control it. So it provides the final check, because we have a system of in our current system, if you believe in government, we have a system of checks and balances. That's what you learn in civics class, and it works oh so great, and it's wonderful. Thinking Schoolhouse Rock. And jury nullification is the forgotten final check against government, because you have the one final hurdle. So a law gets passed, the legislature, the people, or so the myth goes, is that the people's will is manifested in the legislature. They create a law, and the judicial branch interprets the laws, and the executive branch carries out the laws. Well, the people are kind of absent from the situation, directly absent, and because they do vote, if you believe in voting and political representation, which is also a myth. libertyweekly.net/29, I talk about this, the myth of political representation, and but essentially the jury nullification is the one last check against. So before convicting someone, a jury has to okay both the law that is allegedly violated and whether or not the defendant or civil party, in some instances, have run afoul of the laws, or what should happen according to those laws. But if that's the situation, if we have that, we are not living in a free society unless we have jury nullification, unless there's that final check. And that has been absent from that used to be the case a long time ago, according to the Magna Carta, or else, you know, why would King John have gotten so upset about it? And we have Lysander Spooner was specifically talking about a letter from the Pope concerning King John and his decision to sign the Magna Carta. And the Pope is like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, he's basically been emasculated before the people, and you know, if it would correspond to that interpretation, the interpretation that juries can judge both the law and the facts would correspond to the Pope's reaction and King John's reaction to signing this document. It was a huge deal. The Magna Carta. And I'm going to get into that in detail too, but another thing that I wanted to talk about was research I've been doing on primitive legal arrangements, because everyone says, oh, you know, minarchists will say, well, we need a government to handle disputes. We need it to provide security and laws, and we need it to handle disputes. Well, way in the past... Damn it, sorry guys. That's still brutal. I think you... It's good to see that. But looking at primitive legal cultures and through... We say primitive, that's not a fair term. And I guess societies that we would deem to be primitive, they have actually developed, specifically there's a tribe in New Guinea called the Kuakapu or something. I don't have it in front of me at this moment, but I was reading this article, and this is going to be my next episode, more in depth on this. But I was reading an article about these informal legal arrangements. These extra state is what the article that I'm reading calls it. Excuse me. I had Chipotle an hour ago or so. But the
We're only temporarily disabling the tower. You need to remove each lens individually.
Wow.
Carefully release the hinges.
That's kind of funny.
Warning. Energy contamination detected.
Destroying the production of Argent energy isn't necessary.
These informal legal arrangements, some elements of it is that they're usually voluntary. Hence, you know, voluntarism, which would be, you know, what I call myself. And people abide by these legal arrangements, and actually in rural areas, informal legal arrangements like this, informal dispute resolution agencies and courts are what they've lived with for forever, and what has governed them for forever. And it works. Spontaneous order. And it's real. And for enforcement, is this another situation in which I need to shut up? Figure out where the fuck I'm going. And in terms of voluntary enforcement, people would be like, oh, well, you know, there'd be warlords, people would be running around and killing everyone. You guys, violence is not productive. That's a Keynesian fallacy that violence... Oh, that guy's lower half evaporated. This is so ironic. I'm saying violence isn't productive and violence is not profitable. It can be for a select few if you have a central bank and a government, and if you socialize the lost is. But generally speaking, if you yourself privately are... Because warfare and violence is a zero-sum game. There's nothing is produced. It's all net destruction. And you're basically shifting wealth from one area to another and destroying a bunch of shit in the meantime. But if you privatize the losses, then war is no longer profitable. And so people are going to recognize that. Also, it has a lot to do with reputation too, and community guidelines. So to get people to adhere to these voluntary legal arrangements and these voluntary courts, there's a strong enforcement mechanism of social ostracization. Oh my god, I can't pronounce this right now. Ostracization. essentially, if you do not submit to the authority of the court, no one's going to come after you or kill you, but your reputation in the community is finished. You can't do business. The courts will not enforce contractual arrangements for you. And it's not good for you. And so they've been able to secure participation in these legal arrangements voluntarily, in these dispute resolution agencies voluntarily, because people know that it's in their best interest to be cooperative. And if you're not cooperative, bad things will happen to you. It's still not coercive because there's no violence or threat of violence against you, but it's like, okay, if you make this decision, we're not going to enforce your contracts, you're not going to be able to, people won't patronize your business, it's going to be bad news bears for you. And it's been very effective. And in fact, I have very high faith in dispute.
The hell energy is unusable without the filters.
Fuck you, buddy.
Energy contamination.
I want to know why I'm so pissed off at these people. There's no answers unless I should be reading the codex. Oh, there's the Hell Knight that I was talking about earlier. So, yeah, that's voluntary legal systems. What the hell is that? Literally, what the hell is that? Get it, hell? So, and actually the way that the industry is moving in a lot of instances, most legal disputes that we have between companies, and in fact in general, most legal disputes will settle before trial. And whether that's a reflection of the state's inability to properly litigate cases, and it's just easier because the state is so inefficient at at providing justice that people would rather just settle than go through the agony of trying to litigate. It could be that.
Limited energy resource.
But dispute resolution agencies, and in fact my law school, which will remain unnamed, is very famous for their dispute resolution agency. And so a lot of disputes between companies are already, as we speak, privately adjudicated. And people come to an agreement and they close and they settle. That's just kind of the norm. And in fact, I was doing an externship this summer in a district court, and there were no trial. Okay, maybe there was like one trial the whole summer. One or two. And cases just don't get to trial anymore very often. I've been in here before. One thing I don't like is that there's no sprint there I go, wasting my frickin' frags again. There's no sprint function. Unless I just haven't gotten it yet.
Warning. Energy contamination at critical levels.
We spent decades perfecting the science, selling it to humanity. We balanced their hell energy with our science, making it usable and safe. We solved an energy crisis the world had no answer for. It works. You cannot do this.
It works. Private courts work. One thing that I've found it useful in describing why we don't want the government to handle justice is that, well, you do have the public goods theory, which states that there's no way for certain companies to limit who benefits from their business, so therefore it must be monopolized by the government, which is just bullcrap because like Hans Hermann Hoppe handles this in the first chapter of the economics and ethics of private property, And it's been a while since I've read it, but I think the gist of the argument is that public goods theory is unacceptable because it's arbitrary, it's not coherent. For example, like, there are certain things that will benefit lots of different people, like Lighthouse, for example. Ooh, I'm gonna punch people. And I'm not gonna give a very good case for what Professor Hoppe has argued in the Economics and Ethics of Private Property, because it's been a while since I've read it. It's not fresh in my mind. He makes an example with underwear. It's kind of funny. Sorry that I can't defend it properly at this moment.
Remember, the 12 Council of 9 is always watching you.
Oh, surveillance. It's like in North Korea, where they have a complete surveillance state. So in North Korea, people have to, like, once a week, they have these shaming sessions where you have to report to your shaming group and rat on someone else. You criticize someone else and they have to accept your criticisms, and then you get criticized and they divulge your secrets and everything. Just sounds awful. They're a real poor, suffering people. They're the forgotten victims of this whole situation.
Need only to destroy this last filter, and Argent energy will no longer exist in this solar system.
Yeah, well, fuck you.
We will be back at square one.
I'm sorry, guys. Fuck you. Punch.
You have no idea what you have just done.
Oh, I think I do.
Olivia is still alive.
I shut the
I've
tower
detected
down.
her life signature at the Argent Tower. She has removed one of the accumulators from the tower base. It has a unique energy signature that we can track.
Well, that's it then. There's nothing else to be done.
Sorry, bro. I have to kill her now. I wonder if I kill her in this mission. I think it's going a little longer than I intended. Longer than an hour. So if you've stuck with me this far, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I see I have a lot of upgrades to do. Might do that off camera. So I'm going the wrong way. Maybe I shouldn't have gone through the airlock. There, it opened. Oh, this is probably the end here. Alright everyone, well thanks for sticking with me through this whole thing. I know I covered a lot of ground and a lot of topics, but I think doing these Let's Plays is good practice for me to do more off-the-cuff episodes. Because when I don't have to, like, when I don't have to do not necessarily the research, but when I don't have to script the episode out, it just takes a whole lot of time and it helps facilitate the show. And so I know I was giving shoutouts to my buddies. I'm going to have to put all of their links in the show notes page below. I have a few more shoutouts to do. The ANCAP Barbershop is a really good podcast. I'll put their link. I recently was watching Dave Smith's Part of the Problem, or listening to it rather, and that was really good. But as I was saying, Kyle with Foreign Policy Focus, Dean with Dino Files, and my buddies Dan and Rob with the Actual Anarchy podcast. I think that's the one I'm closest to, because Dan and I talk pretty much every day about scheming and stuff. Yeah, so thanks so much, guys, for joining me for chapters 3 and 4 of Doom. I hope you had a good time. Be sure to subscribe, subscribe on YouTube or BitChute if you're watching on BitChute. And if you watch on YouTube, click the bell icon so you get notifications when I do more of these. Otherwise, find me at libertyweekly.net. Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, wherever fine podcasts are distributed. If you like what I do, support my work on Patreon at patreon.com/libertyweekly. Just trying to think of whatever else I wanted to do. I think I'm going to do another Let's Play tonight with my wife, where we'll do chapters 5 and 6. And so keep your eyes open. Thank you.